Good Monday morning. Thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get right to your headlines. Today is a weather impact alert day. Our KARE 11 weather team is issuing one because of the high fire risk across the state. More heat, low humidity, and gusty winds could cause fires to spread rapidly once they start. We're going to check in with meteorologist John Ziegler in just a little bit. Already this morning, though, crews are fighting two major fires in different parts of the state. Up north, state fire officials say a fire in the Superior National Forest is 0% contained, burning 750 acres. Several people have been evacuated and cabins are in danger right now. And out west near Granite Falls, the Gulf Fire has burned nearly 150 acres. All of this also prompting air quality alerts in the Twin Cities. Michelle Beck is tracking this and has the very latest.
Hey, the sun is now beating down, as you can see right here on my face, and that partly explains why we're all going to feel that ground level ozone later today, which has everything to do with air quality, which, as you can see in the sign behind me, the state is alerting folks to the poor air quality we're all about to feel soon. It also says consider reducing trips. The Pollution Control Agency tells us air quality in central and western Minnesota will be unhealthy for sensitive groups. But air quality isn't the only concern, so are fires. That's why early this morning, the National Weather Service issued another red flag warning. It affects a number of regions, including central and southern Minnesota. According to the NWS report, what's to blame is a mix of factors: winds with gusts up to 30 miles per hour and humidity as low as 15%. This means any fires that start will likely spread rapidly.
Make sure to call it in right away into fire authorities, 911, so they can get out there before the fire spreads into any kind of dangerous size.
We know that both the air quality alert as well as the red flag warnings, they will both start at noon today and lift at around 9 o'clock tonight. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, thank you very much. A live look from the White House here, where this morning President Trump signed an executive order he says will immediately cut prescription drug prices. The White House is calling it one of the most consequential executive orders in U.S. history that will equalize drug costs throughout the world. The president says it will lower prices by at least 30% and up to 80%. A check of the markets this morning as the White House makes a big announcement this morning on trade with China. You see the Dow Jones here in the green. The Trump administration announcing it's reached a deal with the country on trade. This comes as President Trump heads to the Middle East today, with trade and investment deals high on the list, along with hopes for a ceasefire talk in the Israel-Hamas war. And the word the last American-Israeli hostage being held in Gaza right now is heading home. Alice Barr has more from Washington.
Hi there. President Trump's Middle East trip comes at a high-stakes moment for foreign relations amid turmoil overseas and for domestic price concerns over his tariff policy, potentially eased with word of a China deal.
Combined it, and anybody should have known.
President Trump traveling to the Middle East today for the first major foreign trip of his second term, expected to focus on business deals, as Trump administration and Chinese officials revealed new details about a trade deal negotiated this weekend, announcing a 90-day pause for most tariffs beginning Wednesday. The U.S. cutting tariffs on Chinese imports from 145 to 30%, China going from 125 to 10% on U.S. goods, while negotiations continue.
We concluded that we have shared interest, and we both have an interest in balanced trade.
With growing concerns over tariff-induced price hikes, President Trump promising an executive order today to slash prescription drug prices by 30 to 80%. His Middle East trip comes amid signs of tension with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over how to approach aggression from Iran and the war in Gaza. After U.S.-Hamas negotiations, the last living American-Israeli hostage in Gaza, Idan Alexander, is expected to be released as soon as today. President Trump calling it hopefully the first and the final steps necessary to end this brutal conflict. The president not currently set to visit Israel this trip, stopping instead in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, as the White House confirmed Qatar offered to donate what four sources call a super luxury jumbo jet to use as the new Air Force One. The sources say it would be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation at the end of his term. Critics, including top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer, blasting the plan as bribery. President Trump defending what he calls a very public and transparent transaction.
A White House official told NBC News the jet would not be presented nor accepted while President Trump is in Qatar this week. The White House press secretary saying any gift accepted will be in full compliance with the law. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
For the third time in 2 weeks, Newark Airport in New Jersey is dealing with blackout issues. The latest happening on Sunday when the radar screens stopped working. The FAA implemented a ground stop yesterday morning for inbound flights because of an air traffic control equipment outage. The agency says the ground stop lasted about 45 minutes and about 78 flights were canceled. It's the latest in a series of outages at the airport. Sunday morning on Meet the Press, Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy says work is being done to fix the delays.
I'm convening a meeting of all the airlines that serve Newark, get them to agree on how they're going to reduce the capacity. So you book, you fly. We are building a new line that goes directly from Newark to the Philly TRACON, which controls the New York airspace.
Duffy says that direct line should be done by the end of summer. New this morning, power is back to homes across the Lowry Hill East neighborhood after a house fire there overnight. Right now, Audrey Russo has new details from fire officials.
An early morning fire brings out more than just firefighters here on Emerson in Minneapolis. Xcel Energy had to restore power to a couple dozen customers after the fire took down power lines and damaged the back porch of this duplex. You can see how much the fire spread from these pictures we found on Minneapolis Fire's X account. They tell us it started around 1 a.m. The fire spread from the back porch of the duplex up to the roof and to a detached garage. Because the flames spread so quickly, they called a second alarm and Xcel Energy to help with some of those damaged power lines. All in all, it took about 2 hours to put out. No one was hurt. But Minneapolis fire officials tell us 3 people were told they cannot get back into their home as the duplex has been deemed uninhabitable. For the past couple of days, we've been talking about these dry conditions and how dangerous they can be for starting fires. However, the cause of this particular fire is still under investigation, so it's unclear whether or not any of those dangerous factors played a role in this situation. Back to you.
A new overnight, officials have identified a man who died in a shooting in Burnsville. This happened at the Chancellor Manor Apartments near Burnsville Center. Police say they found the 22-year-old man with multiple gunshot wounds. He later died in the hospital. So far, no one's been arrested. Burnsville police say neighboring police departments are helping with the investigation since many of its officers are in D.C. for the National Police Memorial. And speaking of that memorial, in 2 days, Burnsville police officers Paul Elmstrand and Matthew Ruge and Minneapolis officer Jamal Mitchell will be honored in D.C. Our Morgan Wolf will be joining over 200 Minnesotans out there tomorrow to cover the events of National Police Week. You can follow our coverage on air and streaming right here on KARE 11+. More fallout this morning after fights and capacity limits shut down a basketball tournament at Eden Prairie High School as more AAU tournament games continued in other school gyms. Police tell KARE 11 the chaos kicked off before the fight broke out.
According to everybody else, people couldn't even breathe in there, but on the court it was all right.
According to Eden Prairie Police, multiple fights broke out in the stands at the Prep Hoops North Battle at the Lakes tournament. Eden Prairie High School says the tournament organizer broke their rental agreement by not managing the crowd and breaking capacity rules. No one was injured in the fights. Turning now to the Minnesota Timberwolves, now 2 wins away from moving on to the Western Conference Finals. One step closer after taking Game 3 on Sunday night. And tonight's Game 4 still in San Francisco, tips off at 9 o'clock tonight. If they get another win on the road, the Wolves will return to Target Center with a chance to close the series on Wednesday. Game 5 is at 8:30 and tickets start at around $100. Stick with us, more news and weather coming up after the break.